Like, what's bad about cars made in the last 25 years? And please be very specific.
Oh, I will. The first problem with new cars is you lose money hand over fist to depreciation.
Yes.
And then if you have to take out a loan for it, you're also paying interest on that.
Yes.
Normal people, in general, lose money is on new cars.
Yeah.
And they do it because they're afraid they can't work on it or service it. That's basically the only real difference.
What if the actual freedom of an old car lies not in its engine, but in the way it actually frees your wallet and your choices? You've seen them park at the curb, beat up rusty with faded paint. You might call them liabilities, but I call them tools for control. In this video, we'll flip your view of new car ownership, and we'll show you how an old car can actually cut your cost and strip away financial strain and the chains and give you back your actual time. Now, if you dig this angle, hit subscribe and ring the bell, drop a comment with your oldest ride and the quirks you love. Let's all build a community of smart savers. Now, from the moment you sign the papers, you're draining cash. In Canada here, the average new car loan payment runs about $880 per month. Add insurance, interest, and taxes, and you're rolling out over $10,000 per year. After 5 years, most new cars lose half their value. You end up owing more than the car actually worth. Now, let's switch a little gears. A 5-year-old sedan might cost about $20,000. You finance less. Your monthly payment drops to roughly $400 or $500, and that frees another $100 each month. Hundreds of dollars you can actually save or invest. Let's take a look at our next feature.
What is the number one wealth killer?
Yeah, new cars, car payments in general. So I made this video last year about the number one wealth killer that nobody talks about. In my opinion, I don't think anybody should ever buy a new car. If you're trying to be financially savvy, never buy new, because buying a new car is basically just throwing your money away to depreciation most of the time.
And how much are you losing once you drive the car off the lot?
Yeah, off the lot, depending on the model, 15%, 20% right off the top there. And then in the first 3 years, you typically lose 40% of the car's value. Like I think a RAV4 holds their value really well. It might be lower, but on average, about 40%.
So I'm assuming that you should buy used. You should also never lease a car, I'm assuming.
Leasing a car could be good depending on who you are, but you should almost try to always buy a car that's 3 years used. I found that that's the sweet spot, because if it's 3 years used, it still feels new. It probably has less than 30,000 miles on it, hopefully. And honestly, the models don't change that often. So people will just look at you and they're like, oh, he's driving a new car. And it'll save you so much money. So if you are going to buy a new car, make sure it's 3 years used, 4 years used, maybe certified pre-owned, and you'll save a bunch of money that way.
Sound advice, because a new car actually upsells you on features you rarely use, like lane assist, heated seats, fancy displays. And those come with dealer-only fixes and steep repair bills once the warranty ends. Take a look at our feature video.
Seems like buying a new car is becoming more unaffordable. I checked today, the average price of a new car is near $49,000 used.
People are being forced to get creative to get a new set of wheels. And a warning tonight, because some of those ideas could hurt you in the long run.
$1,000 a month or more is becoming more common for consumers who want to buy a new car. A new vehicle is considered one of the most expensive purchases a consumer will make, but affordability seems to be a problem. In fact, Edmunds.com just released a report that indicates the average car payment right now is $750. During the past 3 months, 20% of new car owners had signed up for monthly payments equaling $1,000 a month or more.
It's such a high number for people to comprehend. But
Joseph Yoon is an analyst with Edmunds.com and says $1,000 monthly car payments isn't for anything fancy or luxurious either.
these are just kind of larger cars that people are buying and that people need to get to work or, haul their family around. That's costing them over $1,000 a month.
To avoid high car payments, Joseph says consumers are financing for longer periods of time. Edmunds.com discovered 22% of new car buyers this past April, May, and June agreed to 84 monthly payments. That's 7 years.
What we're seeing now is that not only are vehicle prices so high, so is the interest rate. And so when you combine those two, there is no real winning for the consumer if you're out in the market trying to buy a new car.
And Joseph says tariffs are not to blame for affordability. He says the Ford Mustang Mach-E is made in Mexico, and Subaru, which is imported from Japan, are the two manufacturers who said they are raising prices. So if buying a new car seems to be out of reach, you're not alone.
You come in and say, hey, look, I don't need anything fancy. I just want the car that I've been driving. I just want the newer version. But the price difference from 7, 8 years ago for that same car today might be $15,000, $20,000. And so when you tack on a 7% interest rate, you suddenly realize, oh my God, I can't afford this car.
And here's another reason people are having a hard time affording a brand new car, and that is not a lot of incentives out there from car manufacturers. In fact, in the last 3 months alone, less than 1% of all the cars financed had 0% financing. I'm Gary Harper, on your side.
That's an absolutely big change from last year up to 2 years ago when dealers were actually begging people to take these cars. Now, an old car actually skips the extras. Its parts cost less, and you can learn simple repairs or trust a local mechanic. You avoid the dealer markups and subscription fees or software updates. Now, imagine changing brake pads yourself. Parts might cost about $30 per side, and labor at our shop runs about $80 on average. Now, versus a dealer will charge a knot of $300. You actually keep the difference. With an old car, less tech means fewer breakdowns. Older cars use simpler electronics and mechanical systems. Fuses, belts, and hoses are easy to inspect, and you won't pay the complex diagnostics at the dealer rates. If your old car does 7 liters per 100 kilometers and gas is about $1.50 per liter, every 1,000 kilometers actually costs you $105. A new hybrid may burn about 5 liters, but taxes and finance still tip the cost higher. Warren Buffett says the best investment is in things you understand. A car that you can actually pop the hood fits that rule. Take a look at this.
So this is why I hate new cars. Last night, I'm driving home. I passed my parents. They call me, saying, hey, you got a headlight out. You need to replace that before you get pulled over. All right, no problem. I drive home, call it a night, go to bed. This morning, I wake up. I come out to pull a headlight bulb out of this Toyota Corolla, 22 Toyota Corolla. And I come to the discovery that it's a sealed unit. The bulb is not serviceable. So in order to replace it, you have to replace the whole assembly, which requires taking this bumper off. So then I call the parts store because I'd like to get one today, so that way I'm not driving to work and get pulled over on my way to work. And they say, hey, you can't, it says that you can't buy a bulb for that. Buy the whole headlight assembly. How much is that? And they say, you don't want to know. It's bad. You're looking at anywhere from $1,000 to $1,100 for this driver's side headlight.
And I remember the days when you could buy a bulb for $5 up to $20, and then halogen bulbs came in and it went north of around $500, almost $1,000 for a bulb. Now, they've done away with that because the technology keeps evolving, and it's cheaper for them to just put everything all in one and force you to come back to the dealer, or you have to find a local mechanic, or you go to YouTube and find one of those DIY videos and actually try to do it yourself.
Jesus freaking Christ. No, for one. And so then I get online, I'm looking. Cheapest one I could find was on Amazon for $120 for this particular model, XSE. But then I'm waiting a few days, which means it's not going to come in before I got to drive to work in the mornings. And even once it comes in, I'm still spending an afternoon taking this bumper off to put that headlight on. And it's not like I have no room to get back there to it. Like, I got all kinds of room. I could have had a bulb that's serviceable, and it would have been no different than a bulb on my shop truck. Two of the best bulbs for that truck for $60-ish maybe, and have it done in 20 minutes.
Yep.
Freaking waiting a few days for a headlight to come in, and then a few hours to replace it. And people wonder why they don't want to buy new cars, because they make things so unserviceable and so pricey. Why would you want to?
Imagine calling a brand new car a piece of shit. Money you don't spend is money you keep. A new car might lose about 50% of its value in 5 years. An old car loses about 10% per year. By year 10, its values levels out and you face smaller drops. If you sell, you recoup more of what you paid. Now consider this. You buy a $10,000 car and you drive it for 5 years and you sell it for $4,000. You've outlaid $6,000 over 5 years. That's $100 per month. A new car bought and sold under the same terms cost you about $20,000 to $50,000. When you have renowned financial advisors like Dave Ramsey, Ramit Sethi, and Mark Tilbury all telling us car payments will actually keep you poor.
GM just announced the stop sale on all the 6.2 liters, and this man made it to a whopping 12,000 miles, which is crazy. But I want you to take a listen to this. You can very slightly hear it knocking just at the bottom end. I wish I had a better microphone to put all the way in. But when I say you need to run from the 6.2 liter, I tell you, you need to run. I'm a huge GM fan. I've already owned 3 new Silverados on this platform generation of GM products, but I cannot recommend these things to anyone. 12,000 miles, and look at the plastic already. It's that scuffed up just getting in and out of the car. I get it. Like, you could say that's the owner's fault for scuffing the car and stuff like that, but it's all these the cheap carpet. Look at this. It's literally like, this is what used to line the bottom of trunks. This is now the carpet throughout your whole car. And this isn't a $100,000 Cadillac. I guess the only good news is if you can afford one of these, I guess you can afford to be without a car for a little bit once the engine dies. But if it's not the 6.2 blowing, it's not the 5.3 dropping lift, it's not the 2.7 having total engine failure, and it's not the diesel blowing up on itself too, what engine does GM make that's worth anything anymore? You'd literally have to go to a 2500 and get the 6.6. And I still feel like you're playing.
When you free your cash flow, you actually free your mind. You stop chasing the next model or trim level. You focus on what matters: your home, your side project, your family time. You trade the latest tech stress for a reliable machine that gets you from point A to point B.
So I made this video about cars to buy and to avoid in 2025. In that video, I said to avoid Hyundai and Kia products because you will lose your wallet and your soul. I got a lot of pushback on that, and a lot of people in the comments saying that I was wrong. As of today, there are over 100,000 Kia vehicles being recalled due to piston oil ring issues, including vehicles from 2021, 2022, and 2023 that have the 2-liter engine. This article states the piston rings in these vehicles over time could damage the surface of the cylinder bore. That could lead to increased oil consumption, which can lead in turn to abnormal noise from the engine or the oil pressure warning turning. People want to sit here and say they have the best car in the world, they bought a Kia and they couldn't be happier. I'm here to tell you, don't buy one because they're scamming you. They sell this 100,000 mile warranty, but they can't get your car in the shop for that engine replacement for 6 months. Even they tend to market to younger adults who are maybe just getting into their first nice car and don't have a huge amount of money to spend. And these people can't afford gigantic car repair costs, nor can they afford to wait 3 to 6 months for their engine to be replaced and have to drive around a rental. It even states here in the article, this could cause a full engine replacement on these vehicles. And what did I say the Kias would take from you at the beginning of the video? Now, honestly, I might get some pushback for this, but I would rather drive a 10-year-old Land Rover than a brand new Kia at this point. I sincerely don't understand the mindset people have when they go to the dealership and they choose to go and get a Kia Forte over a Toyota Corolla or a Honda Civic. They're relatively the same price, if not one's a little more than the other, but in the same ballpark. Why not pick the one that you know is proven?
Because the thing is, people actually think that they're getting a deal when they go to Kia, and that's not necessarily the case. I had a friend who actually switched from a 2-year crossover to a 10-year-old hatchback, and her payment actually cut in half. She turned that savings into a vacation fund. After 4 years, she was able to sell the hatchback for nearly half the purchase price. Her net transport cost was less than $50 per month. And then there's another friend who actually learned to swap out his old alternator, and he now builds electrical kits for other owners, all because he respected a simple ride. Now, let's take a look at some of the comments from the feature video I had earlier. This one says, there are a lot of nice new cars and small SUV under $30,000. People just love living above their means, which is true. We have to learn to live below our means. People love impressing people they don't know or impressing people they hate. Weird. So $84,000 by the time you are done paying it off. Lots of 15-year-old cars, nearly 2,000 models, no electronics, gadgets to go bad, and going for $7,000 or less. Fix it as needed, and I strongly believe in that. I'm an old car person myself. Go to an auction. Our 1982 Silverado cost about $1,000, and it's still up and running, but not everyone is the same. You have some people who just can't be bothered. Me, the check engine light comes on, as long as it's not breaking down, I'm still going. If you can't afford a 5-year-old loan, that's not for you. Simple. Most of these cars won't last 7 years. I'm shocked that people will actually go out and take out a 7-year loan on something that actually depreciates. $1,000 a month is way too much, and that's absolutely true. $1,000 a month can get you a 2 or a 3 bedroom in Panama, Brazil, Colombia, Costa Rica, to name some other places. And paying for a car over here, that's absolutely insane. This one says, I'll pay that much for a car when I decide to live in it. He's being a little bit sarcastic, but he's telling the truth. These dealerships and auto manufacturers want to nickel and dime us for subscriptions for anything to heated seats to emergency service button. I mentioned that earlier. And $800 a month on that Ford after 6.5 years is gonna suck. And people don't actually look at their finances until the rubber meets the road, or until they have to cut back on certain things and start budgeting. Once the money starts coming in, then everyone thinks that they're going to want to enjoy that new car feeling. The actual freedom of an old car isn't nostalgia. It's taking control of your money, your choices, and your time. You skip the debt, you dodge depreciation, and own your own journey, literally. So I want to thank you for watching. If this video sparked an idea, share it, and I'll see you in the next one.